This is day 8 of the build, and it's looking a very, very nice day today. No rain last night, so the building's kept dry and probably dried out further. Encouragingly, the guys have brought along some wall building stuff today. This bucket here is used for mixing cement, because they're going to be doing the infilling of the garage wall along the top. So that suggests that they feel they're getting close to the end of this actual building bit here. And indeed, they're putting the last bits of cream coloured trim around the top edges. And then I believe they're probably going to do the canopy, and then after that the roof will go on, and that should be fairly quick getting the roof on. It's just a question of how we're going to get the panels up there. Well, actually it's probably going to be relatively easy, because we just get them up onto the garage roof first of all, and then up the relatively short distance onto the main roof. Right, Suntaray and I have got to go to Nondindang now for further supplies. And we'll just leave the guys to it. Let's see how we're getting on. It's just after lunchtime now. This is the last bit of the walling they're putting up now. We're getting close to the end of these materials, I think, because there's a bit of a jagged edge coming down the side here. But there will be quite a large corner piece to go on. So that will cover up those jagged edges, I hope. Plus I'll make sure there's a bit of sealant on the inside. The corner pieces to go on, I believe, are these. Unfortunately, they're not really of any particular colour. If they were cream, they would offset the grey nicely. If they were grey, they would match, but they're not. They're just sort of natural. So that's a shame. I don't think we'll be painting them, but it's just one of those things. We're not exactly designing this or building this for beauty. But they're substantial corner pieces. They've got a very, very good overlap. That's probably 6 centimetres, so that'll cover up any of these odd little deficiencies in the build. Strangely, I'm getting too used to just looking up at this building. I didn't realise they've actually completed the handrail on the top there. They put more uprights on. So that's good. That's more of a substantial structure now and looks a bit safer. Well, we're getting there slowly. I can't wait to get my garage back, frankly. I do hate all this mess, but I do understand it's necessary when building. They are quite determined to get the roof on today. And then they've got to fit the windows, fit the door and make the stairs. But as I said before, the roof panel shouldn't take that long to get up and fixed, really. And then these smaller roof panels are for the front overhang. They'll only need a couple of screws each, so they won't take very long. And then I've got to clear away all this shit from here, because they're going to need to be in this area for building the wall up in the next couple of days. So we're having a bit of a sort out of stuff that should really go to the dump or be burnt, and stuff that's really to do with cows that needs to be stored over in the cow shed. So we've got a little platform to stand on now outside where the door's going to be, and they're setting up various bits of metal to use as platform, because it sounds like the next job is to get the roof on. We've got a couple of hours of daylight left, so they can probably just about do that. I'm not sure how they're going to do the front canopy though. They seem to be telling me they can do that after the main roof's on. I'll be very interested to see what happens there, because I don't really understand how they can do that. I know they will, but I don't know how. Oh, the next query we've got is that we've only been supplied with 100 screws, and that's 10 panels plus the front canopy. So I was put on notice to go and get some more, and then I was cancelled, so I reckon tomorrow I'll be going off to get some more. There are actually 6 bars they should fix to, or there's 6 bars that the roof will rest on. But maybe it's not necessary to screw the roof down to every single bar. So in the interests of cinematographic excellence, I am balancing myself on the wall at the back of the garage.
พูดแล้วไหนครับในมันในกูมันน่ะคือเก่ามึงมันต้องหุ่นทั้งพี่มอซื้อนี่มันก็เป็นนั่นนี่คือเก่า
Let's see if they can work this out, because I think they've got to cut the first panel before they put it up. They've got to cut the excess off the side that's designed to overlap the next panel. Right. I've suggested what they've got to do. And I think because the measurement for these panels cover 75 centimetres width, and that's actually the width of the insulation. And the other bits of metal that are hanging off the edge are just overlaps to attach to the next panel and provide a watertight seal. So it's important they start off on the right side with the insulation right along the outside edge of that board, because there's a trim got to go over it and down the side, the same as on this roof and on this roof. And these trims obviously only come back a certain distance on themselves. Well, we're having a bit of a struggle on agreeing how to start these boards off, because they've given a dimension for the roof which they measured before it's been completed with the boards, and it's critical because the panels, we've got 750 centimetres worth of panels here, and the roof, the bare roof before any boards are on, is 743, and then we've got the shearer board, and I can see there's a gap there as well in the joint. So I'm saying to them they should measure that length again now to guarantee we know what we're working with, and then we can work out how much overlap on each edge we need to do. Otherwise we're going to get to an end and find we're going to have to cut a board off at a funny place. Well, it's taken a bit of loud talking and repeating myself several times, but I've determined that they will measure that length to guarantee 100% that we're working to the correct figure, because at the moment we're working on a measurement when they built it 4 days ago, plus the width of the shearer board being added on. And I want to guarantee that it is the correct figure.
747.
Thank you. So it's 1 centimetre different to what we were working with, right?
Only 1 centimeter.
Yeah, so they've got to overhang by 1.5 centimetres each.
Okay. ยืนออกไปเส้นเดียวแล้ววะ
You said 747, yeah? And we've got 750 here with these.
So the foam out of the board only 1 centimeter.
1.5.
1.5.
Yes.
เส้นกลางมัน2
Yeah, see, so it was 1 centimetre different to what they were telling me. Which is probably accounted for by the gaps that I can see at the end, and the fact that the metalwork on the inside of the roof effectively is slightly longer than the metalwork on the outside, which is where they were measuring from originally 4 days ago. And as my dad always taught me, bless him, you measure twice and you cut once. Whether they will take this away with them as a sort of learning point, I don't know. But you see, after the house roof fiasco, where the shop sold us the wrong number of boards, and in the end we ended up with a gap at each end, the issue of being exact with the measurements at the edges wasn't so critical, because we cheated with the gaps. You can see here, I can show you, you can see where right in front of you there is where one of the boards ends, and then we cheated. Instead of having another one and cutting it, we just used this trim to create to cover the gap, basically, in the knowledge that it didn't really matter because it wasn't on view, because we've got shearer board lining the underside, and obviously we can't see anything from the top. So we saved ourselves the cost of one board, but it also meant that we didn't have to worry about making the ends perfect in terms of the measurements. Now, just to explain again, what we're doing is we're overlapping each end by 1.5 centimetres. Just a moment, I need to talk to him again. Right, what just happened there was that I noticed that the board was skew-if. And the reason for that was because he'd already marked the end of this foam with a 2 centimetre mark for an overlap, and then he'd put another mark on for 1.5 centimetres, and he was working to the wrong mark. Still looks slightly wrong to me, actually. It looks like there's they're allowing a 1 centimetre overlap, but I think we'll let it go. Without me getting up there with a tape measure, I can't really argue anymore. But yeah, that overlapping metal upstand there is going to have to be cut off. They want to leave it there to see if they can get the trim on with it there. Well, clearly there's no way they're going to do that, because the trim's got to be attached to the board, the facing board, the fascia board, and it isn't going to go back that far. But as Suntory says, if we try it, and they can do it, then all well and good. And if they can't, they'll cut a bit off and try again, and then they'll cut another bit off and try again until they get it right.
Oh! Còn sẵn đây. Còn sẵn đó. ท่านเดียวหรอวะได้ท่านสอง
Ah, this is the 6th panel they're putting on now. I don't think they're fully screwing them in yet. I think they're only putting a couple of screws in each panel just to hold it in place. And they will then go over the roof and secure them as necessary, and possibly bearing in mind the number of screws they've got available. There's going to be a little bit of a hindsight moment here, because the actual overlap of the metal from the insulation is not very big. It's possibly 10 centimetres. Now this is a very shallow roof, so water's not going to come off here very fast unless it's a really, really heavy rainstorm, when it will be rushing down because of the sheer volume. But in lighter rain, it will probably come off the edge of that roof fairly slowly, and there is a risk, in my view, that it will fall onto the fascia board. Or get blown onto the fascia board. However, that fascia board is made of not asbestos, because that's not legal now. What's it? Fibre, Portland cement, and what did I say in the other video? Anyway, it's it won't rot. So unlike in Europe, where I'm sort of thinking, I'm having my hindsight moment based on European, or I should say British, building practices, where that would normally be wood which would rot. So if it does get wet, it won't rot, but it may drip down close to the building. But as you can see, we're having we've got a metal sheet going along there, which is designed to take any water that's actually coming off the wall. That's going to take it onto this garage roof properly. And that'll stop it going down between the gap between the buildings, and also provide a proper bit of drainage. Sorry, I was looking a moment there about various things.
Đó con anh có mang tiết này phong. Đây là bọn. Ôi, bán nữa nè.
Yes, the thing about all these building materials we're using is that they're all pretty much weatherproof. The board on the outside is non-rotting. fiberboard. The fascia boards are all the same fiberboard. The tin roof won't leak once it's got the covers over the screws that have been put in. There's no way that's going to leak. And there's the metal strip down the bottom. Now obviously that could rust and need replacing, but it's only pushed up between the shearer boards. It's not actually fixed, so it's easily replaceable if it needs to be. The only concern I have is something I've noticed on this roof since we've been building this extension. I've been able to see this roof better. Obviously I'm standing on a wall at the moment, so I could have had this same view, but I'd never thought to climb up here for this reason. But you see this leading edge here is starting to rust a little bit. And obviously if that does rust right the way through and works its way back, there'll come a time when it actually leaks directly into the soffit, and obviously then all that's going to get wet and start to look bad and end up collapsing. Well, what I've done is I've bought some something off Lazada, some anti-rust coating paint in grey, and I'm gonna paint this edge. I'm going to get up the step ladder and I'm just going to paint this edge and paint just underneath it. Give it a clean first with a rag and some Jif or something. Give it a bit of a clean up, and when the weather's nice, so it's going to dry quickly, I'm going to give all of that a paint over and see if that helps to preserve it for a bit longer. Because obviously when that starts to rust back, the only solution is to replace the whole panel, and that's sort of one thing we want to avoid really, because these panels are very expensive. The roofing panels for the house and the trims cost us around 120,000 baht. So when you start to have to replace a few of them, it's going to get expensive. And I'm hoping they'll last me out, especially if I do the old maintenance on them. Right, we're on the last board now. This is a key moment as to how much it overlaps and whether all my fussing about measuring and positioning of boards was justified and was accurate. Well, it's overlapping. It looks like it's overlapping a bit more than 1.5 centimetres. But something's gone wrong here. Because that edge doesn't look... No, that edge is right. Is that edge right? Yeah, I think it's just slightly misshapen, and from the angle I'm at it looks a bit wrong, but I don't think it is. I'm going to get down and go and look from the front. Yeah, they've just told me it's overlapping 4 centimetres, and it is. So obviously the manufacturing process isn't that accurate, because all those boards are bang up against each other. We've measured the roof and everything. So what do? What you do is you trim both edges to make the trim fit. That's what you do. I don't think that's an issue, that 4 centimetres, because in fact it's going to be 4 centimetres on the other side as well by the time we've trimmed the metal to the correct place to make sure that it's waterproof. Well, it's almost 7:40 now, so they've got 20 minutes before it really starts to get dark. But that's fine, I'm sure they'll finish the screwing by then. There's 2 of them at it. And the 4 centimetre overlap at the other end is obviously a manufacturing issue, because all the boards are flush with each other, they all fit perfectly. But all they need to do is cut a bit of insulation off. I mean, they can try fitting the trim first of all. It might work actually, because 4 centimetres is, I've worked out on this end here that if we can cut that metal away along a certain line so that it still provides a waterproof edge, an upstand edge, that will be 4 centimetres back to the shearer board, and the trim will bend adequately to accommodate that and won't look too bad. So really on that side they might not need to do anything, they can just try and fit the trim on the left side as we're looking at it, and we might get away with that. So I will try and explain that to Suntory and them tonight while we're having a beer. Lovely sky tonight again. Looks like the sunset is in front of us, but it's actually behind us. But the sky is a beautiful colour all the way around. But the actual sun is over there. Look at that cloud. Might get some stargazing in tonight if it stays this clear. Right, that just about wraps up this day. Very good progress. We're watertight now. It means that I can start getting the electric wires into the room. And Suntory has got a professional plasterer, if you like, and ceiling man booked to come and fit a ceiling, which she wasn't really planning, but she's decided it would look better and there'll be less chance of bugs getting into the room. And he will also do the interior boarding of the walls.